So could Marnus roll the arm over and deliver some medium pace deliveries?
Well, it could.
I think they'll just open up with a spinner from one end, won't they? Especially they'll be fielding in the second innings of the match.
I mean, with a chop out for a couple of overs here and there, sure, but not as a credible option.
So first shrinks break has been taken. First hour of play completed. The smog haze over the city of Delhi and Ferocia Kotla. Australia no wicket for 37, and Mohammad Shami is going to place Mohammad Siraj. The Guttam Gambia end. He comes around the wicket to Khawaja. Khawaja cut in half, and the ball spits away down to the rope for 4. Gee, so 4 in the book. They've come off the bat, a little inside edge, flying past the keeper's right and down to the boundary.
This could very easily have been a chop on. Again, Usman Khawaja playing back, and the ball keeps a little bit low, far lower than he was expecting. I think the message in that Australian camp is try and play forward as much as you possibly can. It's a bit difficult to do that when you've been struck also by a short ball. I think this pitch is a bit up and down around that halfway mark where it looks like it is a little bit, well, you wouldn't say green, probably more yellow. There's a bit more life there.
Shami on his way in again, around the wicket to Khawaja. He defends a ball which doesn't climb on the line of off stump, just wide of Shreyas Iyer at third slip. He chases it down to the third man boundary. They get 1. Khawaja 29, Warner 7. Australia no wicket for 42. The change for the India team, you just heard me mention him, Iyer comes back in. He was in great form in the recent tour of Bangladesh, probably the best bat for India there. Surya Kumar Yadav misses out in the middle order. Australia none for 42. From Bart off the SMS, what are the expectations of Davey in this test? Is he in danger of being dropped if he doesn't score 20 or 30? Or is his position dependent on mode of dismissal?
I think if you look at your team and you're picking teams out period in advance, for a number of years, David Warner would be in your first 5 pick.
Shami around the wicket to Warner. He lets it pass over the top of off stump, left it on length.
He would be one of the definites. But I think now it's gotten to the point that he isn't on that list anymore. He is just another player in this team from a selection standpoint, and his position in the side has to be discussed. It has to. His form does not demand the selection like it once did. And so, you know, there's going to be a time over the next 12 months, 2 months, where they have to sit down and have a discussion with him. It's a bit of a hold up here. Mucking around with the field.
So they've basically brought in a fielder in Akshar Patel, who's now at backward point. They've got a cover, they've got a regulation mid-off, which they've rarely had. And the other 2 on the offside are at sort of first slip and second slip at a split cordon. As Shami puts one into the ribcage of Warner, takes a hand off the bat, tucks it away down to the fine leg boundary for 4. Gee, that was a steep delivery. We've been seeing these opening bowlers for India get some variation in bounce off this pitch, and a couple of really zip through, and then other deliveries look like they're going to roll along the ground.
I mean, it seems like hardly any of these balls are going in this one's around about the rib cage, but the surprising bounce. You see Dave Warner gesture as though that ball's kind of leaping up off the pitch. Seeing nothing to be able to pull.
Shami bustles in again. He bowls to Warner. He just sits, rocks back, and then a little uppercut through the vacancy at gully down to the boundary for 4. Well in control of that stroke. The 50 partnership is up for the Australians without loss. Just over an hour into the day's play. The first morning of the second test in Delhi. Warner to 15.
As a cricketer, when you see a pitch like this, that's generally low and slow, you expect the whole pitch to be the same. And so when the ball is short, as a batsman, you expect the ball to sit, prop, and be able to put it away easy. This pitch seems to be at the halfway part of the pitch. It's just so rapid. It's fast. It's bouncing in hard at the batsman. Almost plays like a bouncy pitch halfway down, but It's a fraction full. It plays low and slow. It's incredibly difficult surface to bat on. Australia have done really well here to get to 50.
David Warner just walking out to Shreyas Iyer, who's fielding at square leg, and asked him to tie the cord on his pants, which should come undone as Shami bowls to Warner, and he defends to that man Iyer. At square leg, that's the end of the over. No wicket for 50. David Warner and Usman Khawaja have got the Aussies off to a bright start. They've won the toss, decided to bat first. The fog, which since I know I sort of spoke about it a lot last test and what it would be like coming to Delhi after the pictures that we saw out, not pictures, what we saw out of the plane window when we arrived from Melbourne into Delhi, and the severe smog which just blanketed the city. That was sort of Monday week ago. The first 2 days since we've arrived, it's been a little bit windy, so it certainly hasn't been as bad, but today's been the worst of the day since we've been here. The air quality rating is at 257. As Ashwin starts a new over, and he just rips one past the outside edge of Khawaja's bat, pressing forward. A play and a miss into the gloves of KS Bharat. And by the way, under 50 is considered good for air quality, so this is 257. Sydney's rating today is 8, and Melbourne's rating 12, by way of comparison. As Ashwin darts one in on the leg stump and turned away by Khawaja to short fine.
And for us, it's visible. During a break, we were talking about how difficult it is to trace the ball off the square when a player hits a shot, and that's purely through looking through the fog.
Ashwin around the wicket, well flighted. Khawaja defends, a little inside edge onto the pad as it rolls back down the wicket.
I say fog, it's not fog, is it? Earlier on in the day you thought it was fog, but no, it's just smog. The leaves are not even moving on the trees around us.
You can feel the thickness in the air. Just stood out on the balcony moments ago. As Ashwin well flighted again, almost into that rough outside the off stump, and just coming forward, Khawaja defends confidently out through point. None for 50, Khawaja 29. There's been all sorts of moves made here. The public transport's changed to sort of natural gas, so trying to limit some of the pollution. We spoke in Nagpur about it, the driving rules that are implemented at various times. You can only drive on odds or evens with your number plate, as Khawaja defends again. Ashwin out on the offside.
But then that comes and goes.
It's not in place all the time.
Yeah, that's a reactive thing. Oh, smog looks pretty bad today. We better limit it with odds and evens rather than a blanket decision that lasts all the time.
Silly point in right underneath Khawaja's nose. Ashwin coming around the wicket. He's forward and defending back to the bowler. So a maiden for Ravichandran Ashwin. He's bowled 5 overs, none for 8. And Australia 15 overs into the test match, none for 50. What about when you played? So you're going back 10 years since you played in Delhi. Was it anything like this?
It was, but you never really noticed it because we played at night time, and during the IPL you wouldn't necessarily go out and about because it's just hard to do it as a cricketer in Delhi. You don't go anywhere because security issues. You just end up getting swamped. It's a challenge in that respect, particularly when you play for the home team.
Ahmed Shami to continue from the Gambia stand end of the ground, around the wicket to Warner, and he's defending a ball on the top of off out to mid-off.
That was also a period where we weren't allowed to leave the hotel.
Safety reasons?
Yeah, we had a blanket ban, right? You can't leave the hotel. Couldn't even go from here on days off. If you had a spell of 3 days off or something like that, couldn't even go to the golf course or anything like that for, who knows who's hiding in the 17th bunker. Which creates its own challenges in terms of trying to keep the team entertained for 7 weeks.
First slip, third slip in the split cord, and as Shami bowls to Warner, he gets him nicking. He edges behind, and the catch taken by KS Bharat, the keeper. And Warner is out for 15. 44 balls he stayed at the crease. He was there for over an hour, but he's out now. Shami gets the breakthrough. The Australians are 1 down, and Warner is the first to go. 1 for 50.
Tremendous bowling from Shami. He was wayward early. This ball nipping away a fraction. Warner caught on the crease, playing back a bit. And finally, the Indians will be saying they've been bowling well without reward. Dave Warner, his woes continue. Out for 15. And that's just going to keep the questions coming. He's looked uncomfortable. He's looked uncomfortable against the short ball. He's tried different things in this innings. You could see that he was trying to press forward against the spinners and not get caught on the crease. But being caught on the crease is exactly how he ends up being dismissed against the quicks. Well bowled by Shami.
Here comes Marnus Labuschagne in his 54th Test match. It's just his second in India. He was Australia's top scorer in Nagpur with 49 in the first innings. Of course, the Aussies all out for 91 inside 33 overs in the second. And he strolls onto the centre wicket area to join his state teammate Usman Khawaja, who's 29 not out. He's had a day already, Marnus. He presented the 466th baggy green to his fellow state teammate, and now joining him in the National 11, Matt Kuhneman, who is on debut for the Aussies. They've made two changes. Travis Head also returns into the middle order. Renshaw and Boland go out. Australia winning the toss, batting first, and what are we? At almost an hour and 20 minutes into the first session of the second test. And the Australians have lost their first wicket, 1 for 50. Hi, Corbin and Dirk. Does the Delhi Stadium display the no info labels photos like Nagpur? The no context photos that we were chatting about a little bit throughout the Nagpur test. Sort of no description underneath, or sort of not a whole lot of necessary relevance to the ground or to its history. That's from Martin in Queensland.
This one even more so.
I was about to say, boy, do we have some stories for you, Martin. Marnus Labuschagne's there, 3 in the grippers. His first delivery, Shami over the wicket, wide of off stump, and he lets it pass through to KS Bharat. The Aussies 1 for 50. Australia beat India in the World Cup final in 2003 at the Wanderers. Now, we're in the media centre. So far, I'm not going to rule out that there's any more, but I've seen 1, 2, 3 photos of the Australian cricket team celebrating their victory from 03. Exact same shot.
Exact same photo, and not, we're talking 1.5 metres wide by a metre tall.
Shami on his way in, second ball to Marnus, defending out the middle of the bat to cover point.
Amongst a collection of maybe 15 photos that we've seen in total.
Yep.
So 20% of the photos are the one photo of Australia winning the World Cup.
Same shot. There's a picture of an umpire. Is it Steve Bucknor? I haven't seen it up close. It's sort of from the other part of the building, but he's signalling a wide. For some reason, that's become a
almost in the famous Michael Jordan advertisement.
Like the wings. Yes. I'll have to find a shot of that. We'll get that up on social media as well. There's a Dutch player. Bit of Holland love. As Mohammad Shami bowls wide of the off stump to Marnus, and he puts his front foot down the track and just has a look, and isn't overly comfortable with the fact there wasn't a whole lot of bounce and carry outside his off stump through to the keeper. So Marnus just arrived. Warner's out for 15, nicking through to the keeper. Khawaja's not out on 29. Australia 1 for 50. Any other photos? Alan Border?
Yeah, the Rowley one's brilliant, the Dutch player.
Yep.
That's entirely without any context.
Shami bustles in again, looking for his second. Marnus confidently defending, bat and pad close together. Back to the bowler. Prakash Wakakar is coming in next. He's going to join Dirk Nannes on Grandstand Cricket. Australia 1 for 50. 40 minutes before lunch on day 1 of the second test in Delhi.
Threat doesn't quite look as challenging for Marnus, with Shami bowling over the wicket. There's no swing around anymore. The challenge really has been that short ball. It's been one heck of a challenge when it's been bowled at that sort of just back of the length delivery, length for the openers. Oh, Prakash.
Yes, it's 1 for 50. So Warner's uncomfortable but determined stay finally over. caught behind. Ashwin starts a fresh over from the clubhouse end to Khawaja. Khawaja reverse sweeps, but straight to the man at backward point. Gee, that's got to be really brave, isn't it?
It's incredibly well bowled because there's certain gives that batsmen give you when they're, or certain tells rather, when batsmen are going to play the reverse sweep. And he just saw at the last moment Usman going into that reverse sweep and pitched it full, almost tried to york him and almost on the money.
Ashwin in again, bowls, and this time the ball just goes off the outside edge. It's streaking through. Fielder giving chase, will pull it back inside the boundary, but not before a couple of runs to Usman Khawaja and to Australia. 1 for 52. Khawaja into the 30s. Dropped by Shreyas Iyer at forward short leg off the bowling of Ravichandran Ashwin to a ball that, when you consider forward short leg, kind of the catches that you expect fielders to take there, wasn't low enough in his fielding position. Ashwin bowled, and this time Khawaja is awkwardly but effectively playing it on the offside. Slip, silly mid off, catching short extra, backward point, orthodox extra cover. Man at wideish mid on, mid wicket, and a man at backward square. This time he reverse sweeps again, and effectively this time the ball's racing away to the point boundary for 4. Terrific shot from Usman Khawaja. 56 now on the board, and Khawaja is looking increasingly accomplished under the circumstances as he goes to 36.
Ball doesn't seem to be turning as much when it's straight, pitching in line with the stumps. It's not going in those foot marks.
And this time it's gone through the outside edge, I think it is, or did the ball just turn too much? We'll know on the replay. Umpire's signal is byes, so it beat everybody, including the keeper. Once again, that sharp turn and bounce, Dirk. 4 runs to Australia.
Good luck to the wicket keepers in this game. This ball has turned a mile just outside the off stump. Reminiscent of his second innings dismissal in Nagpur.
Very similar. Ashwin bowls, and this time again it turns, drops it a little bit short. Khawaja shaping to play off the front foot, goes back and then watches it spin away. So it's all happening here on the first morning, but what is creditable is Australia 1 for 60 now. Khawaja is 35. Labuschagne has come in at the fall of that first wicket, and it is going to be a real test by spin. We haven't seen either of the two left-arm spinners in action yet. Man to take the wicket, Shami, getting the outside edge of Warner's bat. But other than that, it's been a hard stay. The short ball, as Dirk Nannes has been telling you, causing all sorts of problems. And I think it's because of the pace at which it's coming off, isn't it? It's just so uncertain. More often than not, you've seen Warner hit twice, but through the shot, Dirk, before the ball arrived in some cases, and sometimes just the bounce.
It just rushes onto the batsman. It seems that doesn't stop and prop like you'd normally expect this type of pitch to behave.
Shami bowls and Labuschagne defends quietly on the onside. I must confess, it would be interesting to know what you feel. I don't recall seeing the ball with that much of bounce, occasionally I must add, at the Kotla.
When I played here for Delhi Daredevils, that was a period where the ground had, I'm not sure whether they were relaying or whether they were, but there was something wrong with the square, but there was no grass whatsoever. So now you see this pitch and there is some grass on it, albeit that straw colour, but this was rolled mud, and that's no exaggeration, not a blade of grass on it.
I remember that sort of greyish, dull surface.
And it was bowler.
Shami in again, bowls, and Labuschagne defends out towards mid-on.
And you could rush people with a short ball because they made it so hard and almost shiny and glossy. But the short ball kind of stopped and propped and... sorry, the short ball didn't stop and prop. The short ball kind of skidded on. And you could actually... it was actually very easy to bowl on. Whilst looking like a completely different pitch to the one we're looking at now. It almost played quite similar in that respect. These short balls are sort of skidding on.
Shami in again to Labuschagne. Labuschagne drives, square of the wicket. He's got 4 runs for it. Lovely shot. just leant into it, slightly over pitched, and Labuschagne latches onto it and puts it away square of the wicket for a welcome boundary. It's 1 for 64.
One thing these Australian batsmen are doing at the moment is when there is a poor delivery, this ball just fractionally over pitched, they have pounced on it. They've been fortunate with a couple of edges here and there going to ground or going through the cordon, but there have been a few nice shots played to the rare poor deliveries.
Need a bit of luck, don't we all, in anything we do? And when you're opening the batting on a pitch which is a first day pitch with a little bit of uncertainty, then you do need your share. I think Khawaja in particular has benefited a couple of times, but as they say, you make your own luck. 1 for 64. The third slip has been moved out to almost a square catching point, or just backward at on the popping crease, about what, 15-20 yards away from the batsman, pushed away on the onside, not for runs. 1 for 64. Labuschagne 4, Khawaja 35. Shami is the wicket-taking bowler. Been a tad expensive today, particularly when he bowled from the clubhouse end. He's got 1 for 27. Siraj bowled well. He's been off the field for a bit. He had a cut on his bowling hand when he dived across to try and stop one of those firm pushes from Warner. Shami in, past umpire, Gough close to the stump this time, and it's gone a little bit in the air, but dissecting that gap, and it's gone down to the third man boundary for 4. So Shami is leaking runs, but this one was a contrast to the earlier shot when he was completely in control. On this occasion, he'll take the 4, but he wasn't quite sure.
Well, this one tried to guide that down to third man, and that one again lifting off the surface a lot more than he expected. So caught it up around that sort of splice area of the bat, but got plenty on it, enough to take it past what would be almost a fourth slip.
Yeah, 4 more runs to Australia. That's the important thing. The runs are coming now. Shami is in bowls and Labuschagne defends. Batting outside his crease. And that's allowing him just that little bit more of an opportunity to pounce on anything that's slightly overpitched, as we saw earlier in the over. And on that ball that did take the thickish outside part of the bat, he was so low that as the ball came up, he wasn't able to get on top of it. But luckily for him, well away from any catches. 1 for 68 at the end of 18.
The clubhouse end. Where's the club?
This is called the clubhouse end, believe it or not.
Oh, we've got a fort 20 metres behind the stand here. We've got an old 12th. What century are we talking behind us here? That'd be 16th century
at least
fort behind us.
Yeah, and one of the reasons, Dirk, you were talking earlier in the morning about the difficulty with redevelopment here, is that the Archaeological Survey of India has a very, very strong view about what kind of work can be done here, keeping in mind the ancient monuments which are around. And to make sure that there is no damage to those monuments, there have been severe restrictions on the DDCA of what they can and can't do. That doesn't explain the advertising, but as far as construction is concerned, that is a legitimate reason why they have